if I go to my mesh smooth options, let me edit and reset my settings, so it's these default ones. It is going to apply exactly the same thing that happened inside of Mudbox. I'm going to go here and take the subdivision type to my Catmull Clark, and I will take a look at do not smooth. So apply that desolation. That's not entirely what I want. I think it's hard edges, so applies. Yeah. So what's going to happen here is it's only going to subdivide without applying that softening, and that's somewhat what I want to happen inside of Mudbox. So usually when you smooth, the main idea that you want is to make this surface a little bit rounder. That is the whole thing with smooth. So in here, if I go to my file and then open the same scene that I had before with the cube, don't save, I can sort of subdivide without smoothing. So that is going to happen if I go to my mesh and open add no subdivision, but open the options, and I don't want to smooth the position. So when I do that, if I subdivide, you'll see that it's going to be creating that line for me, and I can do that a couple of times. So there you go. That's somewhat what I had at the beginning with the default template. My strength is too much. I can actually just hold M as in magnitude and then decrease it, and B as in brush, and right click and move it the same way that I did with the magnitude. It's going to let me do these sort of subdivisions. If I want to carve in, the only thing that I need to do is hold control and then go in and then go in. In some cases, what I will need to do is a technique called preserve the edges, which basically means that I need to modify the geometry once I'm in the modeling software before exporting it in here. And that is because there's going to be some weird shading issues that may occur. So I'm going to go back to Maya, and I'm going to go back to my previous scene, which is on the Pokeball side of things. So I'm going to go to my scene, I'm going to open the last one, and this time around I'm going to select my Pokeball. I'm going to go File, and I will say Export Selection. This selection is going to be on my workspace, but I'm going to make a new folder. This time around, this is going to be my exports, and in exports I'm going to be saving my Pokeball. So that is the basic Pokeball, let's say 001, and inside of Mudbox what I'm going to do is go to File and then say Open. That is going to create a new file for me. This is going to be under Pokeball and under exports. So I'm going to open that Pokeball. I don't want to have any save changes here. One thing that is going to happen in Mudbox is that it's a little bit more picky than what Maya is. In this case, the warning that I'm receiving is that I have a high variance vertex. As you can see in the description here, it means that a single vertex is connected through multiple faces. I will keep this mesh. This is not going to be a big deal. Once I start making my subdivision, I won't even notice that. But take a look at what my surface is of right now. The borders are maintained, but once I subdivide this, if I go to my mesh subdivision level options and I say I do want to smooth these positions, what's going to happen is Shift D. This is going to get rounder. You notice that? Well, right now I have 620,000 faces, but notice how this formation is happening here on the border. That is not entirely what a Pokeball look like, so cannot really work with this now. I'm gonna reopen that Pokeball scene, and now this time around what I'm going to say is mesh subdivide options and disable the smooth positions. So I'm going to hit that and I'm going to say Shift and D. Now what's going to happen is that now it is super faceted. You see that? I'm going to actually remove the wireframe. Now take a look at how my faces are all subdivided. So I have to do something in between the two of them. I'm going to go to File, Open, and I'm going to open the Pokeball. I'm going to make the first subdivision, and I'll do that first subdivision in do not smooth the vertices. So I'm going to do a Shift D like that. I'm going to go to my mesh and subdivide options, and then I'm gonna smooth those positions. So Shift D and Shift D. That is going to help alleviate the issue. If I press W, you get to see that I have more resolution to work with. I'm going to do another subdivision here, but the shading looks kind of weird. It's a little bit too much, and notice how the surface is no longer super clean. Once I try to export these normals into the other shape, this is going to be really noticeable. So I'm going to go back to the example of the cube. So I'm gonna open a new scene and I'm gonna make another cube. In this case, what I will do is apply that technique that I was mentioning, protecting the borders. What I want to do is hold Control and Shift at the same time, so I can actually jump onto the next sections. So I'm gonna go here and I'm gonna click in the border, in my border, and in my border, here and here. So that is protecting my edges. It is not doing a great job because the borders, the edges here are really far away from what I wanted. But the reason I added them in there is because now I can do a 10% of the 10% that I had before. See what I mean? Is I have now this subdivision here, have that subdivision here, that other subdivision down here. What else am I missing? So I'm missing this one here. So that corner, this corner is not protected yet, so let's protect that corner. And I think that after this one, I'm all set. So now what I'm going to do is go to my edges, just gonna double click, delete the extra ones, the ones that were the original 10%. So here and here, I have another one down here. Control delete, there you go. Now when I export this cube, and I have an extra one here for whatever reason, there you go. So now when I export this one, I'm going to go to my file and export my selection. I'm going to be exporting this back again on my desktop as a cube. And when I do go here under File, New Scene, I'm going to select that cube from my desktop. And now when I go mesh and smooth subdivision with smooth positions, so Shift D and D and D and D and D, notice that I'm no longer making that semi-sphere, and that is just because I subdivided my sphere in this way. That is going to help me because now I have more control over what my shape is going to look like. Alright, so I'm going to try to apply the same concept to the Pokeball. Now that I have that out of the way, I'm going to go back to my model. That is going to be under Scenes and 11. Hit Continue, and in here, the corners that I want to protect are going to be these ones, right here. So I'm going to go into Edit Mesh, or sorry, Mesh Tools, Insert Edge Loop. And I don't want to have I want to have a little bit more control over where is it located. So I'm going to go to my tool settings, and I don't want to use equidistant. I want to do relative from the edge. So I'm going to select this one here, this one here, this one here, this one here. So that is going to help me protect this border on these corners. Want to also protect this border here, so I'm gonna do this protection here and this protection here. If I wanted to be a little bit more protective of these ones, I can totally do that as well. So here, and most of them are really just eyeballing. I am no longer going to care that much about precision here, because then the high polygon sculpture is something I'm just going to keep for the sake of adding details, but I'm not going to be taking that into my game engine at the end of the day. So I'm not that worried about the level of precision that these cuts are going to have. It's not like a precise measurement, it's just more like make sure that I don't cut out more than what I need. I just really need to subdivide the surface to add more resolution onto it, or to add more details onto it, but not really taking in account. Probably that's good enough for now. I think that's good. So I'm going to take these and I'm going to go to my object mode, select these, file, and export my selection once again. The selection is going to be under my workspace root, and this is going to be on my exports. This is going to be Pokeball 00, let's call it 2, so I have a different backup. And save that. Oh, nothing is selected because I didn't have the object selected. So file, export selection, and that selection once again is going to be my Pokeball 2. What I had before was faces selected, so that's why it didn't let me work with that. I'm gonna go to file and I'm going to hit import. I will go inside of my Pokeball exports and then Pokeball 02. I have some degenerated faces. I'm going to try to keep it all and see if this works for me. Oh, I need to make a new scene, so trying to add onto the existing one. So I'm going to say recent files, that is the one, yeah, keep all. And that is going to be keep telling me any warnings that I may get. For now, I'm not entirely sure why that is an issue, but everything seems fine on the import. So just going to ignore those errors for now. Mudbox is a little bit more finicky than Maya, so there you go. I'm gonna go now to my mesh, display options or subdivision options. Make sure that you have the smooth after you preserve the edges, and I will say Shift and D a couple of times, and that did a way better result than what I had before. See, the lip is way rounder than what I had. This corner is maintained. So everything seems fine. Now is the next thing here. What I'm going to do is just carve in my name. By the way that you move inside of Mudbox is exactly the same that you will do in Maya. Just hold the Alt, left click, right click, and middle click to move. So let me try adding more resolution here. A couple of more faces. I have 1,000,000 polygons here. Yeah, so if I hold control, that is going to let me carve in. You can see, way too much. So let's take a look at M. M is going to be once again my magnitude, and my brush size is pretty large. So this is going to be pushing out of the surface. Control is going to be pushing in my surface, but like I can totally see a Pokeball having an issue here, like that. You know, just for fun, what I'm going to be doing here is going to be like an inverted Master Ball. The Master Ball is going to have some spheres being out. What I'm going to do is pushing them in. So what I'm going to do is mirror in my local X, so I know that what I do on the right is going to be maintained on the left. And for now, that's how this shape is going to be. See, again, it's going to be somewhat of an inverted Master Ball. I think if I click again, it is going to append on my current shape. So yeah, it's going to be a little bit more pronounced. Something like that. If I hold shift, what it's going to do for me is going to try to average those. It's going to be like a smooth. It's the same result as clicking this button and then going to smooth. Right? I'm not entirely happy with this last one, so I'm just gonna revert back here. Now I'm gonna disable my local X, and now I'm going to press B and then B as in brush, and then I'm going to make this smaller. Now that I broke the geometry, the symmetry here, what I want is to actually carve in my name as I was doing in the other video. So this could be something like, gonna be pushing in. I can actually invert the function, so I don't need to hold on the control key. So I'm gonna say it's too strong. Gonna go down a little bit more. That seems great. So produce. Pokeball. Alright, so that is going to be my very special Pokeball. One thing that I can do in here as well, other than just modifying the surface, is I can start adding more geometry in the sense that I can start like cutting things out. I need to make this brush a little bit larger for this to be noticeable. My strength, yeah, my geometry is not entirely perfect for that, but actually what I was trying to do is I can paint inside of these tools. So if I wanted to, I can just create a new layer for my paints. That's something I'm going to be exploring later. This is going to be a paint layer for the diffuse, and I can choose a different color and I can start painting that in that particular diffuse channel. I'm going to be making a new layer just to make sure that I don't write on top of the previous one or draw on top of the previous one. And what I want to do is make sure that my paint is enabled, so I don't want to size seem large enough. I'm going to be doing any stamp distancing. There you go. I can start painting on top of this now. And I can extract this map actually out of here and put it in my texture. So this is a great tool for painting textures as well. Totally forgot to bring in my symmetry here, so if I want to, I could potentially do this. This is going to be a new model for a Pokeball. This is the Alberto's Ball. This model catches Pokemon at 100% rate, like Master Ball. Alright, so that, I can add more colors here. My color clicker actually was brought in into my second monitor, so I don't know, I don't want to bring in much detail in here because I will be doing ultimately my paints inside of Substance Painter. So for now I'm just going to be, ooh, that kind of looks like eyes. I like that. So I'm gonna make these a little bit smaller. Brushes. Something like that. Okay, so that's going to be the texture. Okay, so for now that is where I'm going to stop the video. This is going to be a really cool tool to explore. I encourage you to play a lot with the different settings that you have available on the tools. This by no means is a sculpting class. There's a lot of information that I can fill in here, and I don't want to make these videos larger than what they're supposed to be. So I'm just going to be showing you the very basics of Mudbox and the very basics of Substance Painter, but this is like a rabbit hole. There's a lot of information going on in the background, and I just don't want to get loose into the many different things and options that we can toggle here. So for the next video, I'm just going to be showing you some cool tricks to apply to Mudbox and how to extract that map that I just created in order to make a new texture based on the modifications that I created over there. Then I'm going to be taking this in the next video at XNormal, so I can extract that information directly from there, so I can create a normal map outside of Mudbox. I think XNormal has a more precise engine for extracting the normal map, but that's something that I can totally do inside of Mudbox and Maya as well. So I'll continue talking about these on the next lesson.